The International Criminal Court wanted him arrested. His own government put him on trial for corruption.
He was thrown out of power twice, and he still came back, still commanded armies, still launched a war against Iran that shook the entire world. 18 years, 4 wars, 3 criminal charges, 0 surrenders. How does a man like this even exist? This is Benjamin Netanyahu, and this on AK World Vision is his complete story. Welcome to AK World Vision, where we bring you the stories that shaped our world. I am Amrendra Kumar. Let's get into it. The 21st of October, 1949, Tel Aviv, Israel. The state of Israel is just 1 year old, a brand new nation still finding its feet, and in this young country a boy is born. Benjamin Netanyahu, the middle child of 3 brothers, called Bibi by everyone who knew him. His father Benjamin Netanyahu was no ordinary man, a world-renowned Jewish historian, a fierce Zionist ideologue, one of the leading scholars on Jewish persecution throughout history. His mother Tila Sigal, educated, cultured, passionate about literature. She had roots stretching from Lithuania to the American Midwest. Growing up in Jerusalem, young Bibi was a serious, driven child. He loved sports, he loved chess, and from his father he absorbed one overriding lesson: the Jewish people must be strong, or they will not survive. But in 1963, everything changed. Benzion Netanyahu was passed over for a faculty position at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Frustrated, he accepted a teaching role in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The whole family packed up and crossed the Atlantic. Suddenly, Bibi Netanyahu was navigating American high school. He joined the debate club, the soccer team, the chess club. He even temporarily called himself Ben Nitai to make it easier for Americans to pronounce. But he was never just an American kid. He was always Israeli, always thinking about home. Then, in the spring of 1967, Arab-Israeli tensions exploded. Egypt, Syria, and Jordan were preparing to attack Israel from multiple fronts. The Six-Day War was coming. Bibi didn't wait for it to happen on television. He went to his school, took his final exams early, got on a plane, and flew back to Israel. He was 17 years old. In Israel, military service is mandatory for every citizen, but Netanyahu didn't just serve. He was selected for the very best. Sayeret Matkal, Israel's equivalent of America's Delta Force. Britain's SAS, only the top fraction of top recruits ever get in. The unit was so secretive. Israel didn't even officially acknowledge its existence for years. Their specialty? Deep reconnaissance behind enemy lines, counter-terrorism operations, hostage rescue. Netanyahu trained hard. He pushed himself to the limit. He made it in. Then came his first real test. May 1972, Operation Isotope. A Sabina Airlines Boeing 707 carrying 90 passengers and crew was hijacked by Palestinian Black September militants. They demanded the release of Palestinian prisoners. The plane was forced to land at Lod Airport near Tel Aviv. Netanyahu's unit was activated, disguised as airline mechanics in white overalls. They approached the plane, then in a lightning-fast operation, stormed it. The hijackers were neutralized. All hostages freed, but Netanyahu was shot in the arm during the operation. A stray bullet, friendly fire, he recovered, went back to America, enrolled at MIT, studying architecture and political science, and then October 1973, the Yom Kippur War. Egypt and Syria launched a coordinated surprise attack on Israel. On Yom Kippur, the holiest, most solemn day of the Jewish year, most Israelis were fasting in synagogue, unreachable. Netanyahu dropped everything at MIT and flew back to fight. He served in critical combat operations in the Sinai Peninsula and the Golan Heights. After the war, he was promoted to captain, but the event that would define him forever wasn't his own war. The 27th of June 1976, Air France Flight 139 carrying 248 passengers was hijacked by Palestinian and German terrorists. They flew it to Entebbe Airport in Uganda, where dictator Idi Amin welcomed them. 102 Jewish and Israeli hostages were separated from the rest, held at the terminal. Israel planned what most called impossible: a commando raid on a foreign airport 4,000 kilometers away. Leading the ground assault, Lieutenant Colonel Yonatan Netanyahu, Bibi's older brother, Yoni. The raid was a stunning success. All but 3 hostages were rescued, but Yonatan Netanyahu was shot and killed near the terminal door. He was 30 years old. Bibi received the news while still in Boston, and something in him shifted permanently. He returned to Israel founded the Jonathan Institute, named after his brother, dedicated to studying and combating international terrorism. Through that institute, he met the people who would launch his political career. Yoni's death gave Bibi his mission. Netanyahu had one asset that almost no Israeli politician possessed: flawless English. Years of living in Philadelphia and Boston had made him completely fluent. He could explain Israel's position to Western audiences on their terms, in their language, with clarity, confidence, and charisma. In 1982, Moshe Arems, Israel's ambassador to Washington, brought Netanyahu in as deputy chief of mission. 2 years later, in 1984, at just 34 years old, Netanyahu became Israel's ambassador to the United Nations. He was sharp, combative, a fierce debater on live international television. He took on critics of Israel and did it so effectively that Western media couldn't ignore him. In 1988, he returned to Israel and won a seat in the Knesset, Israel's parliament. By 1993, he was elected chairman of the Likud party, and in May 1996, Benjamin Netanyahu defeated incumbent Prime Minister Shimon Peres. He became Israel's youngest ever Prime Minister at 46, the first to be directly elected by popular vote in Israeli history. The soldier had become a statesman. Netanyahu's political career can be defined by one word: survival. His first term was turbulent from day one. He clashed with the Clinton administration over the peace process. He signed the Wye River Memorandum with Yasser Arafat, a landmark agreement, but his own right-wing base turned on him for it. Coalition collapses, corruption investigations, no confidence votes. 1999, he lost the election. Most politicians facing that kind of defeat disappear. Netanyahu went to the private sector briefly, came back as foreign minister, then finance minister, then started planning his return. He returned as PM in 2009, and his relationship with new US President Barack Obama was immediately openly frosty. Obama wanted settlement freezes, two-state solution, negotiation. Netanyahu wanted security first, no concessions. The tension was historic. Then came the moment that defined their relationship forever. March 2015, Netanyahu accepted an invitation from Republican Speaker John Boehner to address the US Congress. Without informing President Obama, he stood before Congress and argued directly, passionately, against Obama's Iran nuclear deal. The speech received 43 standing ovations. Obama called it a breach of protocol. Netanyahu called it a moral necessity. But 2020 brought his greatest foreign policy achievement: the Abraham Accords. UAE, Bahrain, Morocco, Sudan, 4 Arab nations normalized relations with Israel, something that would have seemed impossible just years earlier. Peace without a Palestinian state, Netanyahu's formula. But at home, the walls were closing in. In 2019, after years of investigation, Netanyahu was formally indicted. 3 separate criminal cases. He became the first sitting Israeli PM ever to be indicted. His response? He called it a political witch hunt. He kept governing. The trial kept going. The country went through 4 elections in 2 years. Finally, in 2021, a broad coalition pushed him out. Netanyahu became leader of the opposition and spent every single day working to come back. Likud won. Netanyahu was back. But this time, his coalition was the most right-wing government in Israeli history. Far-right ministers with extreme positions held key portfolios. His judicial reform plan, which critics said was designed to protect him from his own trial, sent hundreds of thousands of Israelis into the streets. Week after week, month after month, the country had never been more divided. And then the world changed. The 7th of October 2023, 6:29 a.m., over 3,000 Hamas militants breached Israel's border fence at 30 different locations simultaneously. 1,200 Israelis murdered. Men, women, children, elderly, at a music festival, in their homes, in bomb shelters. 250 people taken hostage into Gaza. It was the deadliest day for Jewish people since the Holocaust. The intelligence failure was catastrophic. The security failure was catastrophic. And the man ultimately responsible for Israel's security was Benjamin Netanyahu. He declared war. The Gaza war began. What followed divided the entire world. Israel said it was targeting Hamas military infrastructure. Critics said the civilian casualties were catastrophic. The 21st of November 2024, the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for Netanyahu. He became one of the very few sitting heads of government in history to ever receive such a warrant. Netanyahu called it anti-Semitic and absurd, and kept governing. For 40 years, Netanyahu had warned the world about Iran. In 2012, at the United Nations, He literally held up a cartoon diagram of a bomb, drew a red line with a marker to show how close Iran was to nuclear capability. The world laughed. Netanyahu remembered. The 13th of June 2025, Israel launched a massive coordinated strike on Iran, targeting nuclear sites, air defense systems, and senior military commanders. Netanyahu addressed Israel. A ceasefire was announced on June 23, but it wasn't over. The 28th of February 2026, in a joint operation with the United States, Israeli and American forces struck Iran's leadership directly. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was killed. Netanyahu addressed the Israeli nation. He said this was something he had worked toward for 40 years, whether that is justice or the most dangerous escalation in modern Middle Eastern history. The world is still deciding, beyond the wars and the headlines, who is Benjamin Netanyahu as a person. He has been married 3 times. His first wife, Miriam Weizmann, a microbiologist, divorced in 1978. His second wife, Fleur Cates, a British woman he met in Boston, divorced in 1984. His current wife, Sarah Netanyahu, a child psychologist and former flight attendant. Sarah herself has been a lightning rod for controversy, facing her own legal battles. They have 2 sons, Yair and Avner. Netanyahu also has a daughter, Noah, from his first marriage. His son, Avner, cancelled his wedding twice because of missile alerts during the Gaza war. Netanyahu said publicly, "My family has not been exempt from this war's cost." Those who work with him describe him as brilliant, meticulous, and obsessive about his public image. He reads voraciously Churchill's memoirs, military strategy, Jewish history. He plays chess. He works out regularly. He speaks 4 languages: Hebrew, English, Russian, and some Arabic. And in December 2024, he underwent successful prostate surgery, returning to full duties within days. At 76 years old, he is still running a country at war. Benjamin Netanyahu's legacy is genuinely impossible to summarize simply. His supporters say he kept Israel safe through existential threats for 18 years. He destroyed Iran's nuclear program, something 10 US presidents couldn't achieve. He built the Abraham Accords, historic Arab-Israeli peace. He transformed Israel into a global technology superpower. He refused to bow to international pressure and put Israeli security above all else. His critics say he weakened Israeli democracy, attacking courts to protect himself. He received an ICC arrest warrant for war crimes. He presided over the worst security failure in Israeli history on October 7. He made the Israeli-Palestinian conflict more intractable than ever. He dragged Israel and the world into a regional war with consequences still unfolding. He is a man who made peace with Arab nations that had been enemies for decades and was accused of war crimes in international court. He built schools and ordered airstrikes. He quoted Churchill and faced criminal charges. Hero, villain, visionary, criminal. The honest answer, history hasn't finished writing this chapter yet. That was the complete, unfiltered story of Benjamin Netanyahu. From a teenager who left Philadelphia to defend a country to the most consequential and controversial Israeli leader in history. If this video gave you value, please drop a like. It takes 2 seconds and it genuinely helps AK World Vision grow. Subscribe to AK World Vision for more deep dive political biographies and world histories like this. And I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below. How do you think history will judge Benjamin Netanyahu? I am Amrendra Kumar and I'll see you in the next one. This is AK World Vision. See the world differently.